Also known as Eric Brooks in the Prime continuity, Blade's first appearance in the Marvel Universe can be traced back to the Tomb of Dracula comics in 1973, created by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. This character was formerly known as a vampire hunter, but he eventually expanded to the mainstream universe and appeared in numerous story arcs that span across universes and ages. Today, we will be taking you on an extensive journey across all his appearances and tell you all about every variant of Blade that appears in Marvel Comics, animated show, movies, and video games. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Comic book variants of Blade. Let us start with Prime Blade and his many other variants that are scattered across Marvel Comics. Prime Blade Main Universe, Earth 616. Born in Soho, London, Eric Brooks was the son of Lucas and Tara Cross, who were notoriously involved with the Order of Tyranna. While Lucas was already in danger, he sent Tara away for their child's safety, and she then took on a new identity as Vanessa Brooks and sought shelter in England. However, Tara soon stumbled upon a vampire named Deacon Frost, who feasted on her body under the disguise of being a doctor while she experienced labor complications. Even though Vanessa died, Eric fought for his life and was born a healthy baby despite these complications. While he seemed normal, we eventually learned that Deacon had passed on some enzymes that had altered Eric's bloodstream and resulted in him being a half vampire, or a damper. He was then raised at Madame Vanity's brothel in England, and as he grew up, he came in contact with a veteran vampire slayer named Jamal Afari. Soon enough, Afari took him under his wing and taught him all about hunting vampires. As Eric expressed his determination to avenge his mother's death, he also took on a new identity as Blade, which represented the sharp weapons in his arsenal that he often used to claim vampire lives. He spent most of his story arc hunting down vampires, and even joined the Secret Invaders and allied with other vampires to hunt down Dracula. As a damper, he was blessed with vampiric powers, such as superhuman strength, senses, stamina, and a regenerative healing factor, and he eventually gained advanced powers after feeding on Dracula's blood. As a result of his half-human origin, Blade was also immune to vampire vulnerabilities, such as exposure to sunlight or silver, and he had the ability to alter his appearance and perform magic. Ultimate Blade, Ultimate Universe, Earth 1610. On Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimate Marvel Universe, Blade was first seen returning from a meeting with Nick Fury. It is revealed that Fury wanted to recruit Ultimate Blade on a mission in exchange for handing over Deacon Frost so that he could finally avenge his mother's death. As Blade joined hands with Fury's Black Op Avengers, they realized that Tyrone Cash was selling super soldier secrets, and Blade even ended up fighting against War Machine. Soon after, he went to Cash and hypnotized him for quite some time until he reverted back to his normal self. While Cash claimed that he had been working for Carol Danvers all along, the Avengers soon figured out that this was a ruse and that their main enemy was Gregory Stark, who had been working from behind the scenes. Now that the mission was a success, the Avengers defeated Stark and went their own ways, while it was presumed that Fury held his end of the bargain and ensured that Blade got a chance to defeat Deacon Frost. Darkhold, Blade, Corrupted / What If, Horror Blade, Earth 42222. Appearing in Darkhold Blade comics in 2021, this Earth 42222 variant of Blade appeared in a storyline where most humans had transformed into vampires during the V-Day crisis. While Blade was a vampire hunter, he soon realized that the world had fallen into shambles, and they needed to enforce new laws and introduce a king instead of a protector. He soon started turning to violence as he tried to dethrone Wilson Fisk from the position of Vampire King in New York City. However, Fisk had already faced him in the past, and he started developing a cure for vampirism in order to eradicate Blade and make the whole world bow down to him as their new leader. While he developed the cure, his servant, Amadeus Cho, had encrypted this cure, and Blade then went after him to get his hands on it. While he chased Amadeus, Blade ended up entering Fisk Tower Zero and even killed most of the vampire with aerosolized silver. He then faced Amadeus and Citizen V of the last Avengers and emerged successful in this fight. After defeating every single obstacle in his path, Blade established himself as the new Vampire King of New York City. Interestingly, his Prime continuity version had explored this storyline when he had gotten his hands on the Darkhold in the past and peeked into many of his alternate versions during a face-off with the Scarlet Witch. Dracula turned Blade, Vampire Blade, Timeline, Earth 42369. Introduced as Blade's variant from Earth 42369, this version appeared in What If? Dark, Tomb of Dracula, where he fought against Dracula's forces, created by Marv Wolfman and David Cutler. This variant was first spotted when Dracula got wind of damper Eric Brooks' existence. Even though Dracula resided in a mighty castle in Transylvania, he was determined to track Eric down, as there were prophecies about him slaying all undead beings in the future. As Dracula traveled all the way to London, Blade teamed up with Quincy Harker, Rachel Van Helsing, and Frank Drake to scare him off. Soon enough, Dracula resorted to other means, such as unleashing his children upon a Christmas market to get his hands on Blade, and this trick worked, as Dracula managed to sneak up on him. Moreover, Dracula bit him on the neck and turned him into a proper vampire. But Blade's origins as a damper made him resistant to Dracula's mind control. Additionally, Dracula passed on his superior powers to him by biting his neck, and Blade then used them to scare him off and force him to run back to Transylvania. Blade then proceeded to travel there in person, and he assumed his bat form to fly to Castle Dracula and slaughter him as well as his minion. Even though he had gotten rid of this threat, Blade feared that his vampire side might be a risk to himself, as well as those around him, and he instructed his allies to blow up the castle while he was still inside. Blade, the Duck, Days of Future Past, Earth 811. First appearing in the Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History comic. This variant of Eric Brooks, known as Blade the Duck, appeared on Earth 811. He was a part of the Days of Future Past timeline and was created by Paul Scheer and Nick Giovanetti. Also described as a duck damper, Blade the Duck had black fur and was affiliated with the X-Men from the South Bronx Mutant Containment Facility. While he does not have an extensive story arc, he was spotted asking Deadpool why Ryder had been picked to assist him in one of his appearances. Blade the Duck, New Quack City, Earth 82081. Hailing from Earth 82081, Blade the Duck first appeared in Secret Wars, Battle World No. 2, and was created by David Walker and J.J. Kirby. He was introduced as a vampire slayer from the New Quack City domain, situated in Battleworld, and he especially rose in popularity after killing the terrorizing vampire duck known as Dracula. John Jones, Amalgam University, DC/Marvel Fusion, Blade Batman, Earth 9602. Created by Larry Hama, this version of Blade was known as John Jones, and he was first mentioned in the Legends of the Dark Claw comics. This story took place on Earth 9602, which was essentially an amalgam universe between the DC and Marvel universes. Here, John Jones was a vampire hunter who waged an unending war against the undead, and he seemingly had all the powers of vampires and none of their weaknesses. He typically used weapons such as teakwood daggers, titanium, acid-etched swords, garlic-filled silver bullets, and other such paraphernalia made out of vampire-repelling substances such as silver, garlic, sunlight, UV rays, and anticoagulants to defeat his opponents. Humanity's Last Hope Blade, Dystopian Future Blade, Earth 8772. Appearing in Marvel Knights, Millennial Visions Issue 1, this version of Blade was essentially humanity's savior, created by Sean Martinbrough. Earth 8772's Blade was captured in 2021 as the first known vampire who showed great promise in developing a cure for HIV virus. Unfortunately, the virus had mutated into airborne strains and forced humans to declare lockdowns, and Blade was their only hope for developing a cure for not just this virus, but all other viruses known to mankind. This variant also had sharp maxillary canine, fang, and pointed ears, and he typically carried a rapier as his signature weapon. Kulan Gath Sorcerer World Blade, Earth 21924. Created by Jerry Duncan and Patrick Zurcher. The Savage Avengers Comics 24th issue focused on Kulan Gath's evil plans to conquer New York and defeat the Avengers. Blade was one of the many superheroes who fought against Kulan Gath in New York, and unfortunately, he was among the many heroes who were martyred during this attack. Champion, United We Stand Blade, Earth 22025. On Earth 22025, Blade was immune to vampirism, but was soon shocked when he transformed into one while fighting against Dracula. He then grew fangs and sharp talons, and worse, he found himself descending into madness. He then tried to contain his insanity and even joined the Black Champions on their mission to contain a virus that was wiping out melanin-deficient humans, created by Georges Jeanty. This version of Blade first appeared in the Marvel Universe, Millennial's Visions comic. Ultimate End Blade, Multiverse Convergence Event, Earth 61610. While Eric Brooks typically appears as Blade, he wielded Mjolnir and assumed a new identity as Thor on Earth 61610, created by Jerry Duggan and Salvador Espin. This variant first appeared in Mrs. Deadpool and the Howling Commando comics, and not much is known about his origin. It was established that he hailed from the Kingdom of Manhattan, and he eventually joined the Thor Corps. This team was made of people dedicated to propagating peace across Battleworld, and Eric was a part of the Thor Corps team that went to Monster Metropolis to convince Baron Dracula to get rid of the resistance among his people, while they told him that they would have to intervene if things got worse. Eric was the one who actually stepped up and slaughtered the entire population, including monsters and humans alike. Twilight Falls Blade, romantic horror-based Blade variant, Earth TRN 523. On Earth TRN 523, Blade appeared in the Ultimate Avenger comics in one particular scene where he killed a 100-year-old vampire for trying to get involved with a 16-year-old. This recurring dream ended with him killing the vampire, and this sequence was the brainchild of creators Mark Millar and Steve Dillon. Live action variants. Blade has also made a couple of appearances in the live-action Marvel Universe, in alternate realities. Let's have a look at them. Blade Films and TV, Wesley Snipes, / Sticky Fingers, Earth 26320. In 1998, Wesley Snipes portrayed Blade in a self-titled movie produced by New Line Cinema and directed by Stephen Norrington. The plot revolved around Blade's attempt at working with Whistler to kill Deacon Frost, while the vampire was trying to resurrect the Blood God. As he hunted him down, Blade came across Quinn and even bit a woman named Karen Jensen before learning that Frost needed him in order to resurrect the Blood God. He also discovered that his mother was still alive and that she had turned into a vampire as well, before he faces Frost in a final battle that culminates with him blowing Frost up. As this film ends, Blade tries to find an antidote that stops him from feeling thirsty for human blood, and this film soon gave way to a trilogy. In Blade 2, our titular character embarked on a new mission to find Whistler, defeat the Reapers, and even get rid of Jared Nomak, a surviving member of a new breed of vampires. In the third and final part of the trilogy, titled Blade Trinity, Blade fought against Dracula, also known as the first vampire to ever walk on Earth. About 20 years after this film, Wesley Snipes reprised his role as Blade in the recent Deadpool and Wolverine film, where he is shown as a prisoner of the Void. Besides this, there was a 2006 television series that served as a sequel to the original trilogy, where Sticky Finger portrayed Blade instead of Wesley Snipes. Unfortunately, the show aired on Spike TV for a short period and was canceled after only 12 episodes. MCU Blade, Mahershala Ali, Earth 199999. Besides these appearances, Marvel Studios announced that they would be producing a Blade reboot series as a part of the MCU at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2019. While there are no future updates, the studio has confirmed that the film will star Oscar winner Mahershala Ali as the titular half-human, half-vampire Blade. Animated variant. Finally, let us have a look at Blade's appearances in the Marvel Animated Universe, where he appears in storylines alongside the Avengers, Hulk, Spider-Man, and even as Moon Knight. Avengers Assemble, /Hulk and Smash, /Ultimate Spider-Man, Earth 12041. Earth 12041 is home to many storylines, such as Avengers Assemble, Hulk, and Smash, and the Ultimate Spider-Man. And Eric Brooks first appeared in this universe when he joined hands with Spider-Man to defeat Dracula's shadow vampire. In this storyline, he was tasked with getting his hands on an ancient, magical relic and then delivering it to Nick Fury. But he eventually got sick of the tyrannical nature of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Monster Squad. He also believed that Fury was trying to control his movements and eventually quit the team to return to his Vampire Slayer position. He was voiced by Terry Crews, and he was identified by his signature sword and the monster truck that he drove around town. Marvel Disc Wars, The Avengers, Earth 14042, created by King Ryu. Earth 14042 was an alternate reality where Tony Stark had developed disc devices to detain supervillains, only for Loki to get his hands on them and trigger a large-scale supervillain breakout. In this universe, Eric Brooks had a reputation as a daywalker due to his half-vampire origin, and he held a deep grudge against a vampire leader known as Baron Blood. In fact, he was first spotted at Stark's museum when he tried to stop Baron Blood from turning more people into vampires. When Blood cornered Akira Akatsuki and Iron Man, Blade intervened and joined hands with Iron Man to destroy these vampires and also prevent them from attacking the Avengers base in the future. Blade was quite useful in the Avengers fight against Baron Blood's army of vampires, and he eventually joined hands with them in their final battle against Loki's mindless ones as well. Quantum zombie virus infected Moon Knight era, Earth 89521. In an alternate reality that takes place on Earth 89521, Blade was introduced as Moon Knight in a cameo in What If, after the MCU was infected by the Quantum Realm's zombie virus. 1990s X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons Blade, Earth 92131. First introduced in the second season of the 1996 Superman cartoon. This variant of Eric Brooks from Earth 92131 was the son of Deacon Frost and a human named Miriam. While he had similar origins as his prime continuity, this variant grew up in a New Orleans orphanage until a vampire hunter named Abraham Whistler took him under his wing. He then learned martial arts and became a proficient vampire hunter, which is when he was tasked with hunting down a vampire-like creature known as Morbius. After a neogenic vampire bat-infected Morbius, Blade was determined to kill him, but Spider-Man intervened and talked him out of it. Soon enough, Blade worked with Spider-Man to track him down and cure him, while also preventing future vampire transformations with the help of the neogenic Recombinator. Over the course of his story arc, Blade learned that his mother had also transformed into a vampire, and that she was on a mission to turn humanity into vampires with the help of the Recombinator. However, Blade joined hands with Black Cat and cured Morbius to defeat her and prevent any more chaos. Voiced by J.D. Hall, this variant of Blade had typical vampiric powers and weaknesses, such as a thirst for human blood, but he kept this under control by using a serum created by Whistler. Marvel Anime Blade, Earth 101001. Created by Madhouse in collaboration with Marvel Studios, Earth 101001 was the setting for an anime series created by Warren Ellis. In this universe, Blade was created by Kenta Fukasaku, where his character was born to a prostitute who died while giving birth to him. Moreover, his mother was bitten by a vampire before her death, and Blade was then raised by her friends at the brothel, since he was unaware of his vampire origin. Blade grew up thinking he was normal until he finally came across his mother, who had now transformed into a vampire. After killing her, his vampiric traits started manifesting as he entered his teen year, and his lust for blood drove him to kill homeless people. Over time, a vampire slayer named Noah Van Helsing discovered him and created a serum to help him suppress his thirst for human blood. Blade then worked with him and even trained himself in the art of combat before dedicating his life towards hunting evil vampires. Marvelous verdict. And with that, we have explored Blade's appearances across different realities in the Marvel Universe, ranging from live-action universes to comic book story arc and animated shows. While he had an interesting story arc in the Prime continuity, there is no doubt that his variants have displayed unique characteristics of their own, thereby contributing to the character's popularity in the long run. We'd love to hear your thoughts on your favorite Blade variant, especially while we wait for Marvel Studios to come up with exciting storylines for him in future projects. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.